everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I will be reviewing a professional game between Lee Chang Ho and Chu Yong. Lee Chang Ho needs no introduction. He is the best Go player in the world in the 1990s and early 2000s. His opponent Chu Yong at the time of this game was a 6P professional player, so he's definitely very strong. And both players are from Korea. So before we move into the game, if you haven't, please subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. I decided to, since my viewers have demanded that I do some pro games review, and I also see in different forums that people want to review pro games and asking, oh, what's the best approach of reviewing pro games? Well, it turns out to be just watching videos. The problem right now is that there aren't that many English material or reviews done in English. So that's what I'm trying to achieve with this channel. So if you like this idea, give me a thumb up and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on new videos. So let's get started. Each one is playing as black. This game was played a long time ago. As you can tell, Lee Chang Ho at the time was only 4P. He later on obviously became 9P and world champion. So this was very early back then. Each Yuan approaches. Lee defends with a one space jump, and then each Yuan hops back with a 3-space high extension. Very common back in the days. Even today, I think this is still a very nice move. Just not in the eyes of AI. In the eyes of AI, it's probably we're probably looking for new variations such as the peep or just tanuki. But anyway, that won't affect your win or loss whatsoever. White approaches. This was back then a mainstream Fuseki variation. But obviously we can see that today there's no more Fuseki, right? So all the frameworks have been eliminated by AI. But I mean, in your games, you can still play out those frameworks, no problem, just for fun. So here, if black hops back and defend, which is nice move, but it could be a little bit slow. White might take initiative and start approaching the corner. And then it seems like black is a little bit inefficient by placing all 5 stones on the same side. So instead, Ichion decided to increase his efficiency by approaching the corner on the left top corner. Lee decides to pincer, which is quite nice at the time. I'd say today probably this small knight definitely cannot be criticized. A lot of players would also go ahead and play out the kick and jump, but all these is just well, if white plays out this variation, this could be a very annoying follow-up for white. So, but still playable in any case. Back then, Lee decided to basically play the 2-space pincer. So the 2-space pincer is very interesting. Let's say, for example, if white pincers very tightly, then black is very comfortably transferring his profits into the corner. Likely it's going to play out like this back then. And then when black hops out, it seems like white is a little bit inefficient by spacing his stones just like this, right? This is not enough space to basically increase your efficiency. That's why Lee Chang Ho at the time, he was thinking about efficiency. That's why he decided to play a 2-space pincer. So in the actual game, the same variation plays out, and then Lee plays an excellent move. That is the follow-up for this local variation. Not only suppresses black's influence, but also increases own influence. And now we can see the C11 stone is definitely better placed than the C12 stone because there's one more line of space, and it's definitely more efficient. So here, obviously, there are a lot of follow-ups. If black's I personally would really like to hop out like this. Some other players might just take something very solid. These are all great choices. In the actual game, black was worried about the influence that white's going to create over here, and therefore plays the shoulder hit. White clamps, white crawls, and then black hops. Here, for my viewers, um, these kind of moves are very slow. They're good moves, but this makes these two stones very heavy. So white can maybe exchange this and then start capping you on top. And then this is not a pleasant game moving forward. That's why a lot of times when we invade, we want to make our stones more light and give them more space and create more efficiency. White clamps on top. This is a common follow-up locally. So let's say, for example, right, if white plays, sometimes white can also push up, and then there is a nice follow-up as a clamp over here. This also is very common. This ensures that, if black pushes down, then we can cut black off. Since we have so many supporting stones all over the place, this would be a terrible fight for black moving on. So likely, black is going to abandon the territory on the side. So that's kind of like the same rationale for this kind of variation. White is focusing on the small moyo over here. Black follows up with a tiger's mouth, white Ataris, and then black decided to play a slightly weird move. This is probably the first questionable move of the game by black. The reason of this questionable move is that it's not very efficient. Like all these stones, they're one sticking to another, right? A more efficient move is probably for black Atari on top, and then Atari at here. So white's not going to connect because this looks way too ugly. Instead, white is going to cut black off and then connect over here. And then they follow up with this variation. Although white got tremendous profit over here, black is going to start a very fierce attack to get the compensation back. So this is a very equal game moving on for both sides. And that's probably how black should have played. Instead, maybe some of my viewers can already tell that this move looks just a little bit sketchy, right? It's a little bit slow, a little bit passive as well. White takes, and then black Ataris. And then white decides to hop out. And then always remember, for my viewers who are probably not in the single digit Q level, you will never connect a stone like this because this is a incredibly inefficient move, right? So a lot of times we'd rather just even let our opponent take the stone and then connect himself. We would never connect at D10 by ourselves. So this is one of the very basic pattern, right? Like we want to play moves that are outside and then they generate profits instead of connecting ourselves and generate no points. White hops out. Black cannot allow this H3, so black absolutely had to protect himself by hopping back. White Ataris, black connects, and then white crawls. So now we can, from this crawl, we can tell Lee Chang Ho's style is very, very clear. It's very, very well illustrated in this game, right? All these moves are super solid, right? You can see white leaves no weakness. And in this move, not only is huge, but also it generates connection for these three guys. And then there's a very safe two-space extension on the board over here. So we can already tell that Lee is very endgame focused, and then very like his style is very, very stable. He's very how can I put it? Like he leaves no weaknesses, and then just make his opponent absolutely helpless, which I think is definitely one of the main characteristics that get him into world champion. For many, many years, he's dominated the Go industry for many, many years. Black had to play this move. The reason you cannot play this is that after you generate some profits in the corner, this guy is going to suffer so much that the profit you generate here is not going to compensate for this kind of fierce attack. I think this is a very important point for my viewers who are in the single-digit Q level. Is that we don't pay attention to these kind of weakness. This is actually super serious when you have a group just hanging there, right? Sometimes we take profit and we think we're leading in territory, but then when white starts to attack, first of all, let's even forget about the life and death. The life and death is a serious problem for black. Well, let's just assume that black lives somehow, right? So this is not actual good moves, but just for illustration purposes. If black actually live in Gote here, let's say black lives some way, and then when white plays the shoulder hit, all of a sudden we can see the entire momentum, and it's not just the momentum, but like this becomes a very scary moyo. And then that's why a lot of viewers ask me, why do I have to invade into those scary moyos all the time and get myself killed? Well, that's because of the problems from before. We need to be very sensitive to our weaknesses, and especially this kind of groups, they need to be treated right away. Black turns, that is strengthening the group, so this cap becomes a lot less serious or severe. So in the actual game, white decided to, because there's not much what white can do because black just added another move. So Lee Chang Ho decided to claim profits first, which is an excellent approach. So they play out a very old-fashioned Joseki. We can tell that Lee kept his style, very, very stable, leaves no weaknesses, absolutely solid, and then he relies on his monstrous endgame to win games. So at this point, black is already a little bit behind because of his inefficiency in this group. Right? It looks very, very inefficient. So black decides to actually go ahead and start attacking white, hopefully to get rid of the roots that white has. White follows up with the tiger's mouth, Atari, and then when black connects, white can absolutely not play this move because black can Atari, and then I'm pretty sure all my viewers can see that that doesn't work for white. So that means that white is cut off over here. So the next move, this is the move that I really want my viewers to learn. Doesn't matter which level you're at. If you're a double-digit Q, single-digit Q, doesn't matter, right? What we can learn from Lee is these kind of very, very clear ideas, right? When we are weak, we not only take the points, right? This E2 generates a lot of points, but it also generates tremendous safety. So the more solid moves you play like this in your games, your rank's gonna skyrocket, right? If you just play these kind of moves, that makes a lot of sense. So at this point, it's just kind of hopeless for black, right? Like black is not behind by that much, but he's just behind slightly, and then he has no confidence against Lee in the end game whatsoever, right? Like if you just play into the end game, okay, well, white is gonna invade you over here. After both sides settled, you no longer have this territory, and then you just go into endgame, and that's just a losing game because Lee Chang Ho is so good at endgame. So that's why black decided to make another plan. So instead of playing into the endgame, black decides to expand himself in a very aggressive way. White had to block, and then black attaches over here. So here, normally white would follow up with this wedge and connect, but in this case it would be a very bad move because when black connects over here, an invasion like this might get killed because black now has 3 supporting stones. Which is why in the actual game, white decides to directly invade, leaving this Q4 weakness, Q5 weakness, sorry, and then invade over here. That makes this stone a lot safer. Black kicks, and then white hops out. Right? A lot of my viewers would be tempted to extend, but that's a terrible idea because when black caps, that's just very, very dangerous for white. That's why when black kicks, a correct move is for you to make a small knight, making yourself very light, and then black hops out. Here, it would be a mistake for black to hane here because when white cuts, there's a lot of cutting points. That's just terrible. So yeah, if black connects over here, I mean there's so many problems. Like white can play this one, Atari, and then Atari over here. So if you extend, I can capture this, and this is terrible for black. And obviously, if black plays this one, the ladder is gonna work for white. So that's also a terrible idea for black. So because of the weaknesses that the black has over here, black cannot create himself more weaknesses. In the actual game, black played a very nice move that separates white. So white still has to live over here by playing hane, Atari, and then plays a 1 space extension to live himself. Black connects, white connects, and then black says absolutely cannot let white live here, right? Because black really does not want to go into an endgame where he's behind and against the best endgame player in the world. So he peeps over here, hoping to like at least give white a lot of pressure. White pushes up, black pushes down, and then extend himself up. So here, if black Ataris, white might Atari from the top, and then it might end up being like this, and then not to say like maybe white can already tactically play this one, but even if like this, white is just out very safely, and then look at all these black stones not generating much, which is why black does not want Atari over here. So instead, black decided to extend out. White pushes, black extends, and then now white makes uses of the black's weakness over here. So from here we can tell not only Lee is a super good endgame player, but also he's extremely good at at counter attacking. Right? If you watch my Invader series, this is a typical example of where our principle 1 comes into play. Is that when we are in danger like this, the first thing we think about is actually to counterattack. Black has no choice but to cut. White squeezes here, not only connect himself, but creates the all-3 cutting point. Black turns. This is working because if white cuts right now, that would be a losing move because when black wedges and the Atari's from behind, we can tell that white is dead. Which is why in the actual game, white decides to wedge. Black Ataris, white connects, black squeezes here, getting rid of the ice space and get rid of these cutting points. This is a sente because next move, black is going to Atari. So when black turns, this cutting point goes away because when you cut, I can kill the stone like this. So in the actual game, white decides to counterattack. Be very consistent when you're counterattacking. A lot of times you might make a move that looks very aggressive, and the next move you back down. That's usually not going to work. If you're counterattacking, you make sure that your opponent feels the pressure. The latter does not work we can tell there's a supporting stone at g15. So black is forced to treat both groups. White hanes, black turns. And then when white pushes here, black no longer has the time to save these guys, because after a couple pushes, white is able to hop over here, and then black is going to be dead, because if you try to push out like this is not going to work. So if black connects, black has one liberty, black pushes out, white can also just Atari over here. That's pretty much a double DGQ problem. So at this point, black decides to counterattack by cutting at R10. So if white decides to deal with this, let's say for example, and letting black basically get this incente, then black is able to just turn out. And then if both groups survives, white is actually in very big danger because white is not alive. But now Lee Chang Ho shows his tremendous reading skills. So instead of defending over here, white decides to extend himself out, completely kill off the stones, saving his group. And all black's hope is to kill these 4 stones as compensations. So in the actual game, black decides to extend onto the second line. So here this is pretty much a life and death problem. If white actually got the 4 stones killed, it actually becomes a very playable game for black. It's probably leading game for black. So white definitely needs to struggle something out over here. And the next move, Lee shows his tremendous reading skills by attaching over here, and that ends up to be the last move of the game because black resigned over here. So if black defends at S3, white pulls it back and then blocks over here. So it doesn't matter what happens over this region. When white makes himself alive, this corner is dead, and then these 5 guys are killed. This is just too much, and then there's no way that black can kill off all these guys. There's absolutely no way. So first of all, black cannot block from the other side. Black has to kill off the stone, which makes this move a sente. Black fixed the weakness, and then it's very, very easy. So white can push once, forcing black to run. And then I think white can push another time, just making sure he has a lot of stones over here. These are very good exchanges, but the important part is for white to just make a tiger's mouth. When black turns, white is able to block over here. Black's most resilient defense is to actually peep over here, but then white can just block from the outside. When white drag the stone back, black drags the stone back, white is able to throw in. When black takes, white's gonna Atari, forcing black to connect, and then last move is for white to just block over here, and we can tell that this is 2 liberties versus 1, and then black needs to resign anyway. So reading out all that, at this point, black decides to resign because either defending at S3 or defending at S5 all leads to a completely hopeless losing game for black. So from this game, I think we learned a lot of the, the opening, as well as Lee's style. I think a lot of great moves that I've definitely learned is moves like E2, moves like this hopping back at Q12, very, very solid, as well as the curl at B8. Not only is big move, but it's extremely solid. So if we play more like this in our games, it's definitely the case that our rank is going to skyrocket. And obviously we enjoyed a nice Tsuji by Lee Chang Ho. at the end as a finishing move. So yeah, from this game we see the tremendous skills from Lee Chang Ho, and there's no surprise that he's later on become the best Go player that dominated the Go industry for many years. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please leave your thoughts below the comment section about just what you think about this game review. Should I do more of it? What are your thoughts? What are your comments or even criticism? Uh, I always take them very seriously to improve my channel. So uh, anyway, thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.